It's Alex Lol Dog, what's up? I wanted to record another video because the last one I did was like a month ago. And Art Fight's going well, we're halfway through the month. I'm enjoying it thoroughly, but I don't need to talk about that. You can infer. Follow me on Art Fight. I already recorded this video, but while I'm editing it, I wanted to go back and redo it because I feel like I can be better spoken. I think I can be briefer. I was a bit repetitive in the first time. So, today, I want to talk about gender identity. A little bit, kind of, like a segment of it. I watched this video about femmes, and it just got me thinking about, and this is something I've always been really intrigued by, how lesbianism and gender identity had, like, historically intersected. Like, a lot of people would just plainly identify as a dyke. They had no need for all these fancy terms, They weren't like, oh, I'm a lesbian, I'm homosexual, bi, romantic, whatever. Like, people just live their lives, and they were what they were. And the way gender was especially interesting with butches and femmes. And back then, historically, apparently, so the video said, like, in the 40s, you'd have to pick one. And it wasn't even the way you presented. It was more like your sexual preference. It was basically bottom or top. But, as it progressed, like, it became something a lot more complicated than that. And maybe it was always complicated, but it seemed like it changed, with, progressing feminism in the 70s and everything like that. That these identities, these lesbian identities in butch and femme, they're taking the, like, designed presentation given to women and to people born female, which is, that sort of femininity given to us by society is, like, purely designed to keep us down, keep us inferior to men under the patriarchy. It's designed for men, like, everything about it, it's designed to appeal to and to be pleasing to men. And so, these lesbians, their whole thing, and obviously this is just, like, it's a valid sexuality, it's not always political, but it's hard to divorce politics from these things, because politics is everything. But, they take their lives, they take their womanhood, if, you want to call it that, and they just divorce men from it entirely. They take men out of the equation. Like, they remove themselves from the patriarchy. And I think that's so cool. And there's no need to have this, like, separate gender identity from your sexual identity. There's no two orientations. They're just downright femme. They're femme or they're butch. F-E-M-M-E. F-E-M-M-E. Femme. Or butch. And, sometimes you're just a dyke. That's just all you are, a dyke, at the end of the day. And I just think that's the coolest thing, I think our generation is just doing the most to drown themselves in labels, and it's, I understand how that can be helpful, but it just seems so unnecessary to me, because back then people just fucking jived whatever they felt like they were, and that needed no explanation, because every person is an individual. People always say bullshit like, oh, if you're bi, you can't identify as femme. It's a lesbian term, it's a lesbian thing, you can't do that. And that's never been true, apparently, according to that video, citing my sources. And I think we get so caught up in labels. I've written a blog post about this before. It's just, like, so nothing. People are just like, oh, you can't say these slurs if you identify as this. And the whole mogwai thing, and I understand, or mogai, whatever, I understand that, like, those are especially helpful for, like, neurodivergent people who really want a strong label, but I just don't think all the time it's helpful. I think a lot of people, are on TikTok bullying other people for not exactly fitting their labels, and, maybe you don't understand bisexual lesbians, but who cares? Like, who cares? Our enemies are trying to fucking kill us no matter what. It doesn't matter what is in your Twitter bio, alright? Get over yourself, please. But anyway, off topic. That's interesting, right? Just being able to call yourself dyke, and that's your gender identity. Easy. Done. And I've been brewing on that a lot because that really resonates with me. I've never carefully examined, beyond 2021 when everyone was doing it in quarantine, I never put too much thought into my gender because I'm content. I'm fully content. I don't care. I'm happy being a girl. But here's one thing, okay? I don't like the term woman. I don't like the term woman. It just feels like too much. I understand there's like a sort of degradation or just a disrespect to being called girl by other people, especially when you're grown up. And I'm only 18, but I'm getting there, right? Being a grown up who is weird to call girl. But I feel like woman is such a loaded term, because a woman, maybe it's just because I'm not comfortable fully yet with adulthood and responsibility. But being a woman, you think of you think of a mother, you think of a wife, you think of a caretaker, a woman. I don't love that. So I feel more comfortable identifying with the term girl instead. Girl, gal, just sort of more casual terms. That's the one thing I'll say about my gender identity. But I do just jive with the idea of just being lesbian. Like, there's nothing else. That's it. I'm just lesbian, These are my pronouns. I'm a lesbian. That's cool. I like that. I dig that. I think that's a good way to go. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to speak on how interesting the, intertwinedness between the lesbian identity and gender, It's just so fluid. I think our identities are so fluid, you can't even fully put a name on it, and I don't think you should. Personally, your cup of tea. But I like the idea of just kind of being individual and letting people discover what you are for themselves if there's someone who really cares about you. I don't think every schmuck who passes you by on Twitter needs to know every fucking aspect of how you feel in your brain about your body and your mind, meet someone, But anyway, yeah. Queerness. It's cool. Queerness is so fluid, is so wide open, is so personalized. And I was watching some interviews last night, with Leah Delaria, and she is this fascinating figure. She's like this comedian. She's very outgoing, very loud, if you haven't seen her. She was on Orange is the New Black, apparently. I haven't seen it. But, she's 67 or so, and so, she's seen a lot of queer history, just being in San Francisco, being in New York. She's seen a lot of the progress we've made. She's now seeing the slump we're in. And I'm thinking about man, I want so bad to feel that that queer culture. I crave it, and I'm not out, actually. I think in life now you don't really have to come out to friends, but with your family you kind of do. And I have never truly dated before, so that's not really something I've been able to explore either. But once I get a car, I want to get engrossed in it. I really do. It just seems so delightful and so interesting and fun. Because just what a fluid and open and feeling yourself community. Supposedly, I've heard it's also like any other social group, drama-filled, stressful. Any dating scene is apparently going to be like that. But, I want to get on the apps. I want to get out there. I want to, I'm a fucking normal guy. But I don't know. Something is so cool about being visually queer, and I know that's dangerous. I do live in California, so maybe I'm lucky. But I wanna get weirder. I wanna have vague labels, and I think that's so beautiful. So yeah. Peace.